South China Sea is part of the world. And I think that's the message that we really want to convey. That not only China, but the entire world, we will sail wherever international law allows.
Lieutenant Commander David Ash flies an F-18.
Do you get briefed on China's growing military threat and progress that their Navy is making?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely we do. And they are making great progress in a lot of key areas. The Chinese are from a military standpoint.
This video from Weapons Officer Lieutenant Commander Matthew Carlson shows his F-18 straight ground target with the machine gun weapons
Iwan mo kinelas mo
on the limit. He also left air combat for dogfighting drills.
Has China become
Unsafe operation intersects
sa katawan eh.
operating in international airspace, maneuvering their aircraft in such a way that denies the ability to turn in one direction. If they're safe and professional, then there's no problem. They have the right to fly and sail wherever international law dictates.
but the Chinese are pushing that.
They are pushing.
China's increasingly aggressive moves in the Western Pacific, encroaching on territory, illegal fishing, and building bases in the middle of the South China Sea have pushed nations like Japan and the Philippines to forge closer military ties to the U.S. And this past week, Britain, the U.S., and Australia signed a landmark deal to jointly develop nuclear-powered attack submarines to patrol the Pacific. This is how China and Taiwan appear on most maps. This is how the Chinese Communist Party sees the Western Pacific, including the South and East China Seas from Beijing. Taiwan is the fulcrum in what China's leaders call the First Island Chain, a constellation of U.S. allies that stretches across its entire coast. Control of Taiwan is a strategic key to unlocking direct access to the Pacific and the sea lanes where about 50% of the world's commerce gets transported.
China has accused the United States of trying to contain them. What do you say to China?
I would say, are you expanding? Are you an expansion style? Are you creating the United States as the champion? And we seek to
Nakasabi.
China. But we are seeking
Gagaling na po yan.
China's Navy have granted the
Nakasabi na
is also
Malikot kasi ito.
Oo,
Kaya malikot ah. Ang gawin nyo dyan sa Pilipinas. Paibutan nyo na alambre.
state media show.
Gawin na yan.
Military has invested heavily
Pero kahit maglilibot siya, maglalaro.
that the DF-21 and DF-26
Ulit, dali.
can be used to target ships.
Salamat po.
China's People's Liberation
Okay, daan sa pahanan. Kasal ha.
and has practiced shipping
Kasal ka ha.
ships in the desert.
Galing ka na.
The United States operating they've developed missiles which have crafted a specific
First, I'd say the United States is also a Western Pacific nation. So it's not China's backyard. It is free and open Indo-Pacific that encompasses numerous partners and treaty allies. And yes, we have seen them greatly enhance their power projection capability.
How much do you worry about the PLA rocket force?
I worry, I'd be a fool to not worry about it. Of course I worry about the PLA rocket force. Of course I work every single day to develop the tactics and the techniques and the procedures to counter it and to continue to develop the systems that can also defend against them.
About how far are we from mainland China?
1,500 nautical miles.
They get to that.
Yes, I can. If they've got the targeting in place, they could hit this aircraft carrier If I don't want to be hit,
Ha?
there's something I can do about it.
U.S. Navy planners aren't just plotting
Sikoy.
how to evade China's rocket force, but also how they could effectively fight back. From the vicinity of Guam, none of the aircraft on this ship has the range to approach Taiwan without refueling in the air. Ships like the U.S. destroyer Wayne Honor, part of the Limited Strike Group, would need to sail much closer towards China to fire their missiles at any force invading Taiwan. One naval scholar we spoke to likened it to a boxing match in which a fighter, in this case China, has much longer arms than their potential opponent, the U.S.
I'll give you a lot of examples where a shorter fighter is able to prevail over a long-arm fighter by being on their toes, by maneuvering. And we can also stick and move while we're developing those longer range weapons.
There is another area of modern naval warfare where the U.S. had a head start and retains a deep advantage over China.
I just noticed out of the corner of my eye.
This is a 688 class, a Los Angeles class attack submarine. This is the most capable submarine on the planet. You know, with the exception of the Virginia class, our newer class of submarines.
The exact number is classified, but our best estimate is that there are about a dozen nuclear-powered fast attack submarines patrolling the Pacific at any time. They are difficult to detect and track, something China is trying to solve.
How much more advanced is U.S. submarine technology than Chinese capability?
Generation.
Generation.
And by generation, think 10 or 20 years. But broadly, I don't really talk in depth about submarine capabilities. It's the silent service.
Since Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, China's military leaders have themselves been mostly silent and ignored efforts by the U.S. military to keep the lines of communication open, even when a Chinese spy balloon reached American airspace and was shot down by the U.S.
If the U.S. and Chinese militaries can't communicate over a Chinese spy balloon, then what's going to happen when there's a real crisis in the South China Sea or with Taiwan?
We'll hope that they'll answer the phone. Else, we'll do our very best assessment based on the things that they say in open source, based on their behavior, to divine their intentions, and we'll act accordingly.
Doesn't that make the situation even